which song that ended up on the album were you most surprised by when you kind of revisited it?
Most surprised? Probably Iceberg.
Okay.
I don't remember consciously writing that song.
Okay.
We wrote it like really quickly and then kind of abandoned it and then came back I think that night and like smoked a joint and listened to it and we were like, what the hell did we just make? So yeah, that song's kind of, it's its own animal. Yeah.
But I suppose that's a good thing then. Okay, what the hell did we just make?
Yeah, I know. It's almost like we didn't even consciously write it. It was kind of nice. It's like
right.
something else wrote it for us, you know, some like muse. Yeah.
How do you look back at, and especially the lyrical content of that song now then? Because like you say, it wasn't a very conscious effort.
Yeah. I mean, lyrically, I kind of had that concept. Just I guess the metaphor of this like iceberg. So I kind of had it poetically mapped out a little bit in my mind, but yeah, sonically, I think that's where it really hit me. So yeah.
And in terms of those themes, do you have those kind of stored up beforehand? Do you know what you want to talk about? What kind of issues you want to raise?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I write a lot of titles down and like poems and just so I can have some reference point when I'm like starting like some instrumental. Sometimes it just takes a word and then it's just like the song is like writes itself. But yeah, I think just to keep my mind sort of flowing.
Because there's some short pieces of lyric I wrote down.
Oh yeah.
And we can get into it as much as you like. But so, for instance, I think this is Bye Bye Darling, but Goodbye to the Accidental Age. And I found that an interesting thought.
Yeah. Well, I guess that just came from kind of saying goodbye to happenstance and just like because the concept of that song is like kind of coming to terms with living in today, and like there's so many technological advancements and we're living in the future. Every day is more and more kind of space age, and and there's things that are just like so wonderful that I grew up with that kids that are growing up now don't even have, you know. Like I reference like a book, like just a paperback book, and like or like a phone call, like talking to someone, like hearing their voice, and then the accident age is walking down the street and meeting someone that way, you know, or just the happenstance of bumping into someone. It's like I think technology can be very distracting. So yeah. And
with this in mind, because being a musical artist, and especially if you do well, you kind of become this public person in a way, where you have to engage in all these technological things, social media, but then also people have expectations. So what is that like for you to navigate kind of those waters?
Yeah, I know, they're funny waters. I mean, I think I love the immediacy of being able to share things with fans on the internet, and like, and also it goes both ways. Like I can share things with people like immediately and see how they react to it, and fans can respond immediately, you know, and they can show me artwork that's being inspired by my art, and that's like very inspiring for me. So I love it. I just don't want it to take away from, you know, the mystery of what makes music great, you know, or just performers, or, you know, I think there's still restraint that should be practiced.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned it, because just before this interview I spoke with Mickey Echo, and he kind of mentioned as well that the mystique of the artist or music is kind of dissipating in a way, because there's so much information on the internet. I mean, I can Google you and figure everything out about you. So how do you feel about that?
Well, it's funny because it's like, on one hand, people that are digging it up want to know, and they're probably a fan, or they are so intrigued by you and what you do that they want to know every, you know, ounce of, you know, every pixel, every thing that you've ever muttered in your life. But it's also just kind of like, I don't know, it's funny. It's like, I think people think that because the internet is just one big free-for-all archive, that it's just kind of like that you're entitled to anything that you can get your hands on. And so that can be kind of disheartening.
Fair enough. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll go on to something else, because there's I can't remember which song this was, but "You're Always Perfect." It makes me nervous. Feels like I don't deserve you. I'm living on the surface. Mm-hmm. So that idea. Come to think of it, might be Iceberg, isn't it?
Yeah,
okay,
it is,
yeah, it might be. Okay, so that idea of kind of idolizing somebody, and then at the same time kind of putting yourself down. Where did this thought come from?
I think just feeling like, I don't know, someone's out of your league, or someone this has like a power over you, yeah, I mean, I think I've definitely had that experience just with girls that I've met. It's just like they're so unattainable, you know.
Because I read somewhere that you mentioned in another interview that this album is very much deals with the power versus vulnerability thing. So where does that come from? Where does that idea of that balance come from?
Yeah, I guess I get a really good perspective of it when I'm on tour, because it's like when you're performing and you're on stage and people are singing along to you and looking up to you and following your every move and every word that comes out of your mouth. It's like that gives you so much power, but at the same time it's like once you're removed from that, it's like, what do? You know, it's like, it's kind of a mind trip, because it can really get to your head, I think, you know. Just this, like, you know, this power that you're able to have. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest.
It sounds like a tricky thing.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, then, what is one of the best reactions you had from a crowd or from a fan? Like you mentioned earlier, the immediacy of it. So what is one of the best reactions you've had?
Best reactions? Occasionally I get handwritten letters, and those are really nice. I really prefer handwritten letters. There's like a, you know, there's an honesty in it. And, you know, handwriting is sort of a lost art. So it's like, damn, how did your handwriting get so good? But yeah, I guess anything, any sort of, you know, gift, or any just like story that you hear, like from your music, from someone, or, you know, yeah.
A final question then, because when you start out making music, you're probably in your bedroom trying to figure it out, and then this notion that you can affect people and you can have an impact on people with your music. How has that kind of realization been for you, and especially with the success of both records?
Yeah. I mean, it's unlike any feeling. I don't think I'll ever get used to it. People singing a song back to you that you wrote, you know, in like a small studio, like so far from home, you know. It's just like, it's the biggest compliment, you know, that I can inspire other people to kind of connect to this feeling or anecdote that I'm trying to lay down. So, so yeah, I mean, I feel like extremely grateful that I can do this and travel the world and be able to perform and support myself doing it. So, yeah.
Very last thought then. Did you, is being a musician, like you mentioned you wanted to travel, is it like you expected it to be? Being a music artist?
I don't know what I expected it to be, but I've definitely realized that it's a lot more work than you'd ever think. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Borns, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.